We have a viral video from somebody on TikTok, which is being shared primarily by people on the right who primarily find this person to be stupid and her opinions worthless. And that's generally the way that it works with these TikTok videos, of course. And very often the people are stupid and their opinions are effectively worthless. But in this case, I think that there's a little bit more to be said about it. So let's first watch the clip.
All I can ever think about is the fact that this is not the way that life is supposed to be. The whole working your life away just to have a little bit of money, a little bit of free time to do things that you actually enjoy. It's such a waste of life. And the older generation will be the first to call my generation lazy for saying things like that, not realizing that they're just a bitch to capitalism and they're brainwashed. I hate my stupid, racist, xenophobic ancestors who set up this system that sucks for everyone except for like the 1%. This stupid capitalist society has made it to where no one can do things for themselves anymore because we've been brought up to depend on everything. Grocery stores, restaurants on every corner, a convenience store on every corner because we can't do anything for ourselves and we have no community. All we rely on is people who are getting paid and overworked their whole lives to get things that we need. That's not community. It's all nothing but a capitalist hellscape that sucks the life out of everyone.
Okay, well, she gets a few things wrong here, just a few, starting most importantly with the very common misconception that happiness means having a lot of free time to do what you want, as she says. Now, if that was true, then virtually no one who ever lived on Earth up until the industrial age, at least, was happy. Because free time, as she conceives it, is an extremely modern phenomenon. I doubt that our ancestors even had a word for it, because it didn't exist. People were not working 9-to-5 jobs. They were not busy in the way that we think of busyness, because we think of busyness as something that's loud and fast. Business, busyness is work assigned to you by your job. It's text messages coming in and phone calls and driving around to different places. When we talk about being busy, that's what we mean. And that kind of busy didn't exist for most people who've ever lived on the planet, but they did have work. They had to work to survive. Their lives were built on and around work. There would not have been a day that went by without work. We think of free time as time without any kind of work at all. Time dedicated to total and complete leisure. That's free time to us. Free time is sitting on the couch for hours, ordering food on DoorDash, relaxing in a very sedentary position. Some people will spend days at a time like this. If you don't have any kids, then they'll say your whole weekend could be like that. But historically, unless you were like a pharaoh or a Roman emperor or something, that kind of leisure, that kind of free time was not on the menu. Indeed, this kind of free time is an invention of our modern Western capitalist system. It's what has made it possible for people to spend hours and days at a time doing nothing in a state of complete leisure, avoiding nearly all forms of work, even the most menial kinds. She wants free time, but she hates the thing that gives her free time. And even though she already certainly has lots of free time, she's not happy, which tells us that having free time, that is the avoidance of work, is not in and of itself a recipe for happiness. If anything, having too much free time and avoiding work too much, I think our modern experience would testify, is a recipe for unhappiness. She's also wrong, of course, in her hatred of our ancestors. To hate your own ancestors, it's to be a branch that curses the roots of the tree that you're attached to. You would not have your existence at all without your ancestors. You would have neither the positives nor the negatives. You would have nothing and be nothing. And as it happens, in the case of this girl and all the rest of us, we can thank our ancestors for many more positives than negatives, as we already established, all the things that she has and supposedly likes and wants more of, free time, leisure, etc., she only has because of the work, innovation, and sacrifice of the ancestors whose graves she now spits on. And most of the things that she doesn't want and complains about, work, hardship, she would have that no matter what choices her ancestors made, given that these are fundamental realities of human existence. There is no economic system that can get you off the hook on those things. But she's not wrong about everything. She makes the point, and it's a profound one, that many people in modern society are effectively helpless. They cannot do anything for themselves. They have no skills. They have no capacity to be self-sufficient. And even those who are most skilled and most self-sufficient still rely heavily on giant institutions and corporations to provide them with so many things. And while this is all happening, we've also become more isolated, less community-focused. We don't even, many of us know our neighbors who live next door. The social experience has migrated online into our phones behind the screen, where we can connect with people, but that connection is always limited by the technology that facilitates it, and nothing feels exactly real. She seems to have noticed all of this, and it's good that she's noticed it. But the next step for anyone who notices this problem is to do something about it. And doing something about it doesn't mean going on social media to rant about the evils of capitalism. It means changing this dynamic in your own life. Here's the thing. Modern society does not make it impossible to develop skills. It doesn't make it impossible to find community. It doesn't make it impossible to find meaning and purpose in life. Instead, what it does is that it makes it possible to not do those things, which is really what she's complaining about. Modern society gives us the option of doing next to nothing, developing no skills, remaining effectively isolated, coasting by, and yet still surviving. This was never an option historically, because historically, if you had no skills, you would simply die. If you didn't find a community and a support system, you'd probably just die. Life required certain things that it no longer requires. The option to coast, to live a low-effort life, has been opened to us. It is a door that we can walk through, and many people do. I mean, think about this for a moment. We obviously don't need to know how to kill, catch, or grow our own food. And that work, that's work that most people on Earth have had to do through history, but most of us escaped that burden completely. And it's been that way basically since the industrial age kicked into full gear. But these days, we don't even need to know how to cook or prepare our food. We can live without ever growing, killing, catching, or cooking our own food. And many people do live this way. So you could live alone and survive for decades and decades to a ripe old age without having the slightest clue how to do anything with the food that you have but chew it and swallow it. That is the degree of removal, the depths of laziness that we can choose. But we don't have to. There are other ways to live. But you have to choose those ways. And you have to essentially make your life more difficult on purpose. So if you want to have a more direct relationship with the food that you eat, and you decide, you know what, I'm going to learn how to cook. I'm going to learn how to cook from scratch. I'm going to have a garden. I'm going to grow my own vegetables and all that. You can do all that. It's a great thing to do, but it's more difficult. And you don't need to. So anyone who's ever had a garden and gone through this and the hassle of it, you can have moments where you think, like, why am I doing this? I could just go to Kroger down the street and get all this stuff. But then if you do that and you live that way, then you end up like this girl talking about how, well, it's like, no, I don't know how to do anything. And everything's being handed to me and it feels like there's no point. So yeah, you can go the other way, but you are creating work for yourself and you're creating hardship. And you have to be willing to do that. And you have to be willing to live intentionally while having the discipline to stay on that path, even as easier ones, or at least ones with less resistance, are available to you. You can develop skills. You can learn to care for yourself to a great extent. You can even form families and communities. All of this is possible. Modern society offers a certain way to live, a way that's easy but empty. And we can take it up on that offer or not. You don't have to be miserable or alone or helpless. That's not a requirement. It's an item on the menu. It may be the most popular item. It may be the one that the restaurant is always pushing on us, but it's not the only one. The others just take discipline and effort, which is a price that many people, including this girl, at this point, don't want to pay.